Our next story is about Israel's most high-profile casualty in the Gaza war. Idan Amedi, an Israeli singer, songwriter and actor famous for starring in Netflix's iconic show Fauda. According to reports, Amedi has been seriously injured in Gaza Strip's Khan Yunis city. He was fighting there as an Israeli Defense Force reservist. That is when he suffered injuries in an attack. And last we checked, he had been airlifted to a hospital and was receiving treatment. Reports from the Israeli media have also cited Amedi's father, who has confirmed the injury. Amedi's cousin also wrote about the injury on Instagram and prayed for his speedy recovery. Now, for the unversed, the 35-year-old actor was born and brought up in Jerusalem. He's currently serving as a real-life IDF reservist in the Combat Engineering Corps. On the 12th of October, 5 days after Hamas launched that brutal attack, Amedi was one among thousands of reservists who joined the war. He said he did so to protect the children, families and homes of his fellow Israelis. Interestingly, Amedi is not the only one currently serving in the IDF. There are a host of other renowned Israelis who have joined Israel's reserve forces, and this includes the likes of social media influencer and journalist Hanania Naftali, former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, and for the actor Lior Raz, besides several Israeli citizens living abroad. They are all fighting this war, which has entered day 94. It's been a total of 94 days since this war has started. What's the latest from on the ground? Well, besides the fighting, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is touring the region for a week of shuttle diplomacy. Have a look at these visuals. They are from Saudi Arabia. Speaking to reporters from the tarmac as he departed the Sheikhdom, Blinken said that leaders across West Asia are determined to prevent a wider conflict. Listen to this.
Everywhere I went, I found leaders who are determined to prevent the conflict that we're facing now from spreading, doing everything possible to deter escalation, to prevent a widening of the conflict. The future of the region needs to be one of integration, not division and not conflict. And fourth, for that to happen, we need to see the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. Now, no one I talk to thinks any of this will be easy. All recognize the hurdles, and no one thinks that anything will happen overnight. But we agreed to work together.
And from Saudi Arabia, Blinken left for Israel. He landed in Tel Aviv last night following multiple stops in West Asia. He was welcomed by the U.S. ambassador to Israel. His first meeting was with Israel's president, and during that meeting, Herzog spoke about a lawsuit filed at the ICJ accusing Israel of genocide against Palestinians. The lawsuit in question has been brought by South Africa and will be subjected to hearings this week. Herzog called the lawsuit atrocious and preposterous.
On Thursday, a proceeding will start in the International Court of Justice in The Hague, whereby South Africa has sued Israel for supposedly genocide. There's nothing more atrocious and preposterous than this claim. Actually, our enemies, the Hamas, in their charter, call for the destruction and annihilation of the state of Israel, the only nation state of the Jewish people.
And lastly, Blinken also met with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Tel Aviv for talks over the war in Gaza. Details of what transpired during the meeting are yet to emerge. Meanwhile, back in Washington, D.C., U.S. President Joe Biden has issued a statement. He says he is working with Israel to reduce the presence of the IDF in Gaza. He said this during a church event in South Carolina. And during that event, Biden's speech was interrupted by a handful of protesters calling for a ceasefire. Responding to the protesters, Biden said, and I'm quoting, "I understand their passion, and I have been quietly working with the Israeli government to get them to reduce and significantly get out of Gaza, using all I can to do." But Biden's statement does not really match the reality on the ground. According to reports, forget dying down, the war is only expanding, especially along the Israel-Lebanon border. In fact, things are so bad that Biden has dispatched his top aides to West Asia to prevent a full-blown war from erupting between Israel and Hezbollah. You see, US officials are concerned that Netanyahu may see an expanded fight in Lebanon as key to his political survival. Will he do so? Will he really try to expand this war? Well, if Israel's American allies think so, then there must be some merit in the claim. Let's now shift our focus to India, where some expectant mothers have a special request. They want their babies to be born on the 22nd of January. Why is that? Because that's the day when the grand consecration ceremony at the Ram Temple in Ayodhya would be taking place. Our next report telling you more about this.
The countdown has begun. The consecration of the Ayodhya Ram Temple is just days away, and anticipation is running high. There are some who are planning something very special ahead of the grand occasion. Expectant mothers are requesting for cesarean section deliveries on the 22nd of January. That's the day when the consecration ceremony would be taking place. As per this report, several expectant mothers have made requests to have C-section deliveries on that day. According to Seema Dwivedi, the acting in charge of obstetrics and gynecology department at the Ganesh Shankar Vidyarthi Memorial Medical College, they have received written requests for 12 to 14 cesarean deliveries in one labour room, and arrangements are underway for as many as 35 cesarean operations on January 22nd. According to Seema Dwivedi, the mothers believe that Lord Ram is the symbol of heroism, integrity and obedience, and so babies born on the day of the consecration ceremony at the Ram Temple would also have the same qualities. The day is being considered auspicious, and reports say similar requests for C-section deliveries on the day have been made across India. The requests have been made to doctors even if the delivery dates happen to fall a few days before or after January 22nd. All eyes are on Ayodhya now, where hectic preparations have been underway for the grand ceremony. The occasion has been termed a national festival by the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath. The Uttar Pradesh government has declared a holiday for all educational institutions in the state on January 22nd. The consecration of the Ram Temple is the religious dedication ceremony. It would be taking place on 22nd January in the presence of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and dozens of VVIP guests. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Should India ground the Boeing 737 MAX? Yesterday we made a case for it, and tonight we have more reasons to press for MAX's grounding in India. We have more reasons to believe that flying Boeing 737 MAX in Indian skies could be fatal. You know what officials found during the inspection of MAX planes in India? They found that some parts of the plane were missing. The basics first. 3 airlines in India operate Boeing 737 MAX. Which are these airlines? Air India Express, Akasa Air and SpiceJet. After a plug door blew out mid-air in an Alaska Airlines flight last weekend, India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation, or DGCA, ordered that all of the 39 MAXs in India should be inspected. And during this inspection, they found a washer missing. What's a washer, you ask? It's the hardware that holds together a screw. You must have seen them at your home. Similar washers are also used in planes. One of them was missing from one Boeing 737 MAX operated by an Indian carrier. Some of you may be thinking, well, it's only a washer. Sure. At home, a missing washer in the furniture, for example, may not mean much. Your bookshelf may not collapse. But in planes, a missing washer can be fatal. Remember, in the Alaska Airlines plane, a door blew out mid-air. It could have been the result of a loose bolt, a missing washer, which is why the door blew out when the plane was over 16,000 feet in the air. It's a miracle, of course, that everyone on board that Alaska Airlines plane survived. It's a miracle that no one was seated next to the panel that blew out. It is a miracle that the pilots managed to turn the plane around. What if they had not been able to do so? What if the plane was at a cruising height? What if someone was sitting next to that door and the passenger seatbelt was off? When the door blew out on that plane, personal belongings were sucked out. What if next time people are also falling from the skies? Such a freak accident now looks possible because of the literal loose ends on the Boeing 737 MAX. So coming back to the question, how fatal can the missing washer in the Indian plane be? Well, it depends on where the washer was missing from. If it's a coffee machine, then it's of course no big deal. If it's a door plug, then it is a disaster that has just been averted. In the last 24 hours, Alaska Airlines reported loose hardware in many MAX planes. United Airlines also reported similar concerns. It reported detecting quote-unquote installation issues in the door plug. For example, bolts that needed additional tightening. We are talking about plane doors here. Reports say United found installation issues on at least 10 of its planes, 10 of them. The number could increase. United Airlines connects India to the United States. You could be sitting on one of these planes. For now, America's FAA, or the Federal Aviation Administration, has grounded all Boeing 737 MAX 9 planes. The Alaska Airlines plane was a MAX 9. There is also the MAX 8, the kind that the Indian carriers operate. For the longest time, the argument against MAX 8's grounding was that, well, the Alaska Airlines plane was a MAX 9. Now there are parts missing in the MAX 8 as well. Like I told you yesterday, even MAX 8 has a checkered history. MAX 8 was the aircraft that was involved in the crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia. In just a matter of 6 months, MAX 8 had killed 346 people. And now there are parts missing in this aircraft. I understand grounding MAX fleets of 3 Indian carriers will result in operational issues, to say the least. There will be delays, there will be cancellations, ticket prices will likely climb as well. But just tell me one thing. Isn't a cancelled flight or an expensive flight better than a dangerous flight? What is the hurry? Ground the 737 MAX fleet and thoroughly inspect them. Turkish Airlines has grounded MAX planes, as have Panama's Copa Airlines, Mexico's Aeromexico. Indonesia has grounded 3 MAX planes. Why is India still waiting to ground these aircraft?